Good morning. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here and be part of this 5th edition of Summer School on Migration. Today, we're going to be talking about Today we are going to be discussing how to identify when there is a human trafficking activities happening around us. There is a general clues to help us identify a victim in need. We are going to discuss the involvement of strategic collaboration that allow us to help victims in need and further improve the clues to spread awareness. Becoming more aware of how to identify human trafficking with our communities can help reduce a number of victims. Did you know that half of all victims of modern-day slavery are theft and bondage? Women and girls make up 71% of all victims. 1 in 4 victims of modern-day slavery are victims. 1 in 4 victims of modern slavery is a child. Do you know what is a bondage? Theft bondage, also known as a theft slavery or bonded labor, is the pledge of a person's services as security for the payment for a debt or other obligation, where the terms of repayment are not clearly or reasonable stated, and the person who is holding the debt and thus has some control over labor or slave does not intend to ever admit it that the debt has been repaid. The services required to repay the debt might be undefined, and the services duration might be undefined, thus allowing the person supposedly owe the debt to demand services indefinitely. What is more modern? I'm sorry, for some reason today I'm nervous and I don't know why. What is modern slavery? Child slavery is in the enforced exploitation of child for their labor for someone else's gain. Children used by others for profit, often through violence, abuse, threats, prostitution, pornography, forced begging, petty crime, and drug trade, enforcing children to marry. Case study. We're gonna go to the first slide. A 15-year-old female, newly arrived to the United States, recruited by a woman providing a job opportunity, sold for $200 to an older man, held in servitude, physically abused, exploited, used superstition. I will be sharing a story about a young teen who fell victim to sex trafficking. Her life when she arrived to the United States, she was offered a job. Requirements not to give any information to anyone in her family about the job. She trusts for lack of knowledge and culture within the new area. Believe that older people will respect and will take care of a younger person as same as in her village. She left with a stranger, not knowing where the job was. She met employer. Employer showed charm and kindness. Believed he was going to take her home the next day as he promised. He removed a lock from the phone for her to call her sister. She called her sister and told her she was coming home the next day. She felt fear after he showed her the area she was going to be cleaning. Saw his altar with all kinds of different bottles with some dirt portions, pictures, thread dolls with pins, witchcraft, black magic. The fact that he didn't take her to her sister's the next day, excuse for not taking her to her sister's house was that he was busy. Those few days inside, she was not able to go out, doors were locked. At the third day, she demanded for him to take her to her house. He got mad, slammed the door, and closed until later. She sat on the sofa crying, scared, fearful, not knowing what to do. He got close to her and told her she was not going anywhere. He had bought her for $200 and she was there for him to do whatever he wanted to do to her. Clear, he said she was his slave. Raped, humiliated, and threatened to kill her family if she said anything about his witchcraft. She felt fear and shame. Shame, how could she tell her family? Who can help her? She felt abused emotionally, physically, sexually, morally, and spiritually for almost 6 years. At the age of 18, he sent her with a friend to look for a job. She got hired. Every check he kept, he cashed her checks, and he was giving her coins to use the payphone to inform him if she was going to work overtime. She was also isolating herself from others because she was fearful about taking or talking to others because she didn't want to raise curiosity and started to get questioned. She was manipulated to believe he knew everything she said. He would threaten her by saying that he could see her through his crystal ball, who she talked, what she did, and what she was thinking. He was killed by the neighbor. She gets blamed for different facts and lack of understanding the laws within the country. She was sentenced to prison for 25 to life. She spent 22 years and a half in prison. She was free from prison and detained by INS and spent there 5 months. She was released under a T visa, recipient of a T visa as a victim of human trafficking. Victim identification. Next slide, please. Family called for welfare check. Law enforcement went to the house, saw nothing amiss. Involved in a crime. Her brother and sister called the police, tried to find where she was living. The law enforcement came to check on her, but didn't know how to identify the clues for human trafficking. We're talking about the 1970s. She could not tell them anything other than she was okay. Her abuser was by the door listening. Next slide. The picture that you see in there, that's me. I'm the one that I've been talking about. The pictures that you're gonna see there, it's that I came from a little village where you trust and you think the elderly people is gonna take care of you. And then you see the older picture when I was arrested and I was sent to jail. Next slide. What did we miss? In there. Information, lack of education of the law enforcement. They didn't know how to treat a case of human trafficking. Organizations and support groups did not exist as they do today. If they did exist, they were not advertised or known. Workshops on how to prevent, help, educate, and protect victims. Learn how to detect the signs of a victim. Report abnormal or suspicious acts. A strategic collaboration. Who do you need to include in your strategic collaborations? Law enforcement organizations and foundations that are willing to continue helping to prevent this type of crimes. We, as individuals, taking a stroll down the street, at times witness abnormal behaviors that lead us to believe there is something wrong with what we have just witnessed. Let's stop turning a blind eye when we see something out of the ordinary. Make it your business, get involved, ask questions, help possible save a victim in need that no longer has a voice for themselves, that had been manipulated and possible drugged. Remember, this is not just my story. This is the story of hundreds of young women. I, Maria Suarez, a survivor of my abuser. Let's help others that might also be in need. Strategic collaborations. I am very thankful and blessed to have all these strategic collaborations support me and help to stay in the United States after my release day. Non-governmental organization CAST. It's an organization in Los Angeles that helped me to get out, helps victims of human trafficking. Attorneys, immigration attorneys, pro bono. Faith-based organizations, state representatives, governor representatives, law enforcement, law school students from USC, and media. Next slide. What action-oriented strategies can you identify or develop? Awareness raising with business sectors, travel, hospitality, hotels, airlines, technology, property management, real estate, cross-sector training, government, local, state, regional, national, and federal, schools, grade schools, high schools, universities. If every one of these organizations were to take the responsibility to inform, advertise, and help spread awareness of human trafficking, we can educate and help inform the youth avoid the traps of human traffickers. Next picture, please. Freedom. Freedom after 30 years. From 15 to 21-year-old, I spent almost 6 years in a prison by my trafficker. From 21 to 43, another prison with a sentence to 25 to life. From 43 to 44, when I thought I was gonna be free, INS picked me up, and again, I was whole for 5 months and 7 days. But I wanna tell you that on May 25th, 2004, I was granted my freedom by AT visa. And I was able to hold and hug my beautiful mother that you see next to me. I've been 15 years free. One of my goals when I got out was to build a foundation, and I did. I built the Maria Suarez Foundation, and our mission is the Maria Suarez Foundation works to prevent youth from enduring the trauma of modern-day slavery through education and empowerment. Next slide, please. Our core values. Human rights, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. Underlying all of our work is a respect for universal human rights and the recognition that we cannot have a truly free world without human rights. Freedom, my favorite word. We strive to create a true free world, a world free of everything from modern-day slavery to exploitation to fear, a world where all members of the human family have the freedom to make real choices, to dream, and the opportunity to realize their full potential. Empowerment. We are grounded in an empowerment-based approach to accomplish our work. We recognize that people can possibly impact systems, institutions, policies, social norms, and their spheres of influence with their increased knowledge of modern slavery. This knowledge empowers young people and communities as change agents with the shared goals of preventing modern slavery. Knowledge is empowerment. Next slide. You might be wondering, what is the picture doing in there? When I was incarcerated, I used to run to raise money for children at risk. I used to watch the LA Marathon, Los Angeles Marathon, on TV and dream of one day being able to run in the LA Marathon. It was one of my goals to join that specific marathon. The first year I was out, I ran the LA Marathon. Today, I have participated 15 times in the LA Marathon. I've been running and conducting fundraisings for my foundation. My goal is to continue running and raising funds for the Maria Suarez Foundation. I want to thank you for listening to my story.